Hello and welcome to Central Georgia Focus, the Ask Mayor Miller edition. I'm your host today, Liz Fabian from the Center for Collaborative Journalism. You know, Mr. Mayor, since we began asking the public to send you questions 4 years ago, I would say road conditions and the school speed zone cameras have generated the most interest. So let's begin, since the Georgia legislators have options to either ban them or curtail them. Macon Bibb County has been accused of violating the law by putting in cameras in schools that didn't request them or issuing tickets outside the school day. I know you have a lot to say about that.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about school zone cameras in our community when, you know, just 2 years ago we had 17 homicides in our community, and at this time this year in 2025 we had 3. That's what we should be talking about, all the great work we've done there. But just on the cameras, I'll tell you a couple of things. I wish we'd do a We Verify that cameras do not operate 24/7, 365. How simple is that? We get a lot of comments. There's a lot of people getting interviews saying they got a ticket on Saturday, or they got one in the summer, they got one late at night. That's simply not true. It's not me calling someone a liar. That's factual. And I've reviewed the reports, right? So if you go back to, 3 years ago when we started this program, you'll notice that no one gets a ticket after hours. You can file an open records request on that. No one gets tickets on weekends or the summer. The only occasion that I'm ever aware of out of 3 years, there are 2 days, one in the summer where they're testing the equipment and it generates some citations and they just dismiss them because that's how they test the system, see if they're working. And then one other time, I think in 2023 on a weekend, they did the same thing for a particular location to test the equipment. About 3 dozen total that all were dismissed. So no one's getting citations. It's very clear. File the open records. You know, we've received about 28 open records over the last couple of months, actually. No one is asking for this information, and I can only imagine why not ask for this information. Would have been the first thing that I asked for. Also, most of those tickets are given out, I think a large percentage, perhaps 80% was the number I was given, are at the very first part of the day, the 7 to 9 o'clock while people are dropping kids off. The through times, I believe, only showed around 10 to 12%, and then the rest of the times are at dismissal times. But no tickets are given out the hours. The other thing I saw is that people said Macon Bibb County violated the law. That is a ridiculous comment. Honestly, you can play on words all you want to. If someone says, we didn't request it, the same person said, we will agree to try it. To me, if you're saying we will try it, means you're giving permission. And you certainly signed a volunteer form to GDOT saying we are requesting these. So you can play on semantics all you want to. I'm not here to contest people that work in our community, but I want people to know that we would never place a camera in a location forcibly. That's just simply not true. And they had to volunteer by signing the application. Whether we gave them the facts about it and they said they would try it, you know, you can play on the words all you want to, but certainly to me that's a request, and you don't really tell people we want these options out of the money either if you didn't request it, if you were forced on it. So I'm not here to basically go back and forth with everybody, but that just needs to clear those facts up. Ask for the reports, ask to see the citations all the summer, but I can guarantee you if you do a We Verify, you can verify they do not operate 24/7, 365, and get that myth just out of the picture.
Let's just explain once again, because I think the public does have some misconceptions about how they operate. Now, the flashing lights are just to lower the speed limit or call attention to the reduced speed during the drop-off and the pickup times, correct?
So basically, the school day is defined as 1 hour before school begins until 1 hour after school ends. Therefore, you have a long period. You can get a ticket any time between those times. The lights tell you that you need to go to the reduced speed that's posted. When the lights are not on, you go to the regular speed that's posted. You can still get a ticket if you exceed that by more than 10 miles per hour. I will tell you that it became a challenge. You know, the private schools that you talked about, a couple that asked to be removed, it's more complicated. Their school calendar doesn't line up with Bibb County school calendar. They have a lot of half days. Their spring break is differently. And you got K through 12 on one campus, which means people are going in and out all day long, so you don't know what time the school ends. And you know, initially you had the flashing lights there that were temporary, not the permanent lights. So I understand the confusion that they had there, and that's why as soon as they asked for the cameras to be removed, we promptly removed those cameras that they had signed the forms with the state to request.
And I know that, like you said, the times are different from elementary to middle to high school. But on Anthony Road, you have an elementary school and you have a middle school, Ballard Hudson and Hartley Elementary. So is that just one zone
That's
there?
right.
So it runs for whatever the extended period is,
Right.
from like the early start to whatever the late start is there.
So those are zones, and the lights would coordinate just like I just talked about. The same thing like Rutland. Rutland, you have a high school and a middle school, you run, that's one zone. But if you look at all the evidence, if you really wanted to look at it, you'll see that no tickets are issued after hours, none. And they're not operable in the summer, weekends at all. And the only two circumstances I know of is 2 days that they were testing the system, and all those were promptly dismissed, because what you don't want to do is look like you went back there and purged a bunch of citations. So they're still going to show us citations, but they're going to show us dismissal. The other thing someone said, and I can't remember the media outlet, it could have been some blogger or something somewhere, or maybe some radio show, but said that we received $1 million worth of citations in the summer. That is entirely misleading, because we do not issue citations in the summer. There was no $1 million worth of citations issued in the summer. We do collect money 12 months a year because people pay their bills at different times. You may go to court in the summer, so revenue comes in. Maybe you get a ticket in February and you mail your check in June or July. We don't issue citations in the summer that need to be paid, and we don't do that on weekends and weekends and after hours either.
What do you think about Sheriff David Davis suspending the citations for right now while all this kind of shakes out?
Well, he's always had that right? He's the constitutional officer, the chief law enforcement officer we have in Macon-Bibb County, just like the schools have that right. Just like the state created the law. Someone said, Mayor Miller is lying about the state. No, the state created the law. When I'm talking to someone in context about the rules, the state created that law. Bibb County opted in, right? We opted in a public vote unanimously by all the commissioners. I didn't vote for that, but certainly I was in favor of that. So we opt into that. But at the same time, the sheriff has a right to put a pause on it, and he did. And I support him in that pause because there's a lot of misinformation. I question it a little bit because we only have like a week left in the legislature. They're going to make a decision or not make a decision probably tomorrow or sometime this week on whether to keep them as is, whether to restrict them to certain times, or whether to ban them altogether.
Now, earlier this month, Atlanta News First reported that speed detection companies, 4 of them, contributed more than $860,000 to Georgia lawmakers in recent years. And 13 WMAZ just reported that our state senator John Kennedy and Representatives Tangi Herring and Dale Washburn received campaign contributions. And according to their documents, the vice chair of Altamont contributed $1,000 to your campaign. So do you have any comment on that?
Not really. I think I collected about $1 million over 8 years running for mayor. It's not unusual to have events that people have to pay money to come to those events, so it doesn't surprise me at all. But that's just a small amount out of $1 million. But certainly, just like I heard John Kennedy, the senator, say on yesterday, is that that doesn't sway our votes, right? We do the same thing. Maybe sometimes contractors give to campaigns, and of course we have projects out there, but multiple people give money and they all can't get the project. So it's not a quid pro quo type of situation, but that's just a small amount, and it certainly happens in every single case. Otherwise, there would be no campaign contributions from all the way from Lieutenant Governor, right? I said the Lieutenant Governor got $150,000 is what I saw in the AJC. It's just a part of raising money in your campaigns, and a lot of times people, they pay to come to events, and their name's listed on there. So. And
how do you think things are going to shake down at the state capitol when it comes to this school speed zone camera law?
You never know. If you want to say what the rumors I'm hearing in Atlanta are from people that are in the business, I think that they want to tweak the cameras. That's the general feeling, that they want to, they advertised this thing in the state in 2018. I watched some of the hearings. They sold this as public safety to the local community, and then as soon as we, started activating these cameras, and all of a sudden they're a bad thing. And I think everybody's surprised about the number of people who are speeding. Not necessarily the money that you take in, but there are more people speeding than we realize. Also, what you'll see, and if you do an open records request on a month by month since the installation of our cameras, you're going to see the number of citations continue to decrease over a period of time. We started out that first 30 days, 43,000 I think is the number warnings that were issued. Then after people got that warning and realized they could get a ticket, then you'll see the number slowly reduce over the period of the years.
And that's what Redrick Williams asks. Why don't you issue a warning the first time? I know the warnings went out when the cameras first went up, but in the timing of issuing the citations, sometimes you would get a second citation before you even got the first warning.
Well, because most people that, well, I disagree with that now. I think they get out quicker than that now. They did in the very beginning. There were some delays in the very beginning on the process, and that's why we did the amnesty. You remember we wiped out every ticket after one in the very beginning. So the law basically says for 30 days you do a warning period. Most people are going to travel by that school within the first 30 days. They'll get that warning. There's been so much, communications on this issue. We do a new one every time we add a camera. As a matter of fact, people talk about the amount of money that we received has increased. That's because of the cameras. We started out with 3 locations in the very beginning, and now we're at 15 locations. And the original plan with the school system was to make sure that all the schools have them.
Okay, well, we'll probably talk a little bit more about this because there's lots to talk about with these school speed zone cameras, so stay with us. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus, Ask Mayor Miller, and we've been talking about the school speed zone cameras and whether or not they've actually been effective. Now, I understand from the Pedestrian Safety Review Board, Nigel Floyd said before the cameras went in place, the vendor actually did a study on speeds to see where the most speeding tickets were being issued, and that's how y'all selected where they would go first. And now they would like to do another study. So we're going to get some data soon to show whether, speeds have dropped or whatever. But you've heard anecdotal evidence that they are making an effect.
I have. I heard from speaking to people, from looking at some of the numbers. We can see the number of warnings, like I mentioned earlier, have decreased substantially. Also, we're required to do studies. If there's not a need at the school, then it doesn't get permitted. So each one of those went through the process of getting a study done that we're required to. And I think what you'll see is that over a period of time, the number of citations are slowly decreasing. And that's what you want. You want people to slow down, because in the very beginning, a lot of people were speeding through those zones. It was a huge problem. And it's always dangerous to speed through any zone, but particularly through school zones. And you don't have to have walking children there too. That's the misperception, is it's not just for people walking. Those kids, each and every day, if you got a school of 700, they have to get to and from school some kind of way, whether it's a bus or whether it's a parent or whether it's carpool or walking. They have to get through school. So don't just assume that the roads you travel, you don't see any kids. It's not a safety issue.
Now, also, we were talking about legislative issues. Have you heard anything about the proposed third term for the mayor? Is that dead this session, and can it come back next year?
Oh, I don't control that. As you remember, the OLIS took about 4 sessions to pass. I don't live my life waiting on the third term. I live it to keep doing the job the people elected me to do, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, I'm going to be just fine.
Okay. Well, 5.5% of Bibb County voters who cast ballots overwhelmingly approved the SPLOST. We asked folks how they think that $450 million that's going to be raised over the next decade should be spent. And Jeff Foster says, how about fixing roads like you promised? He says he travels Goodall Mills, Sardis Church, and Hartley Bridge roads, and they're getting worse, and that when he crosses over to Crawford County, the roads are actually better. Now, you and I have talked about road work very many times on this program, so can you explain what you are doing and why that is a priority in this SPLOST?
Well, first of all, we know that roads is something that all the citizens want. Of course, the only way to pay for those roads is through a SPLOST. Otherwise, you have to increase the taxes on folks, and that's why the SPLOST, I believe, passed with an overwhelming percentage, the largest in our history. 83% of the people that showed up voted for that. Goodall Mill Road, you'd be happy to know, is one of the first roads that's already been approved. Will be paved, and certainly we'll have our scan back in another 30, 60 days. Actually, I think it's back, but we'll have the results so we can start the process. We don't collect any SPLOST money until about October, but we're going ahead and getting all the roads we're going to pave on the first phase in line. So I do agree on that. If you're going to Crawford County on 80, it's going to be the same road, because that's a state highway. But there's a lot of roads that need to be paved. There's no doubt about that. But I've said it before, property tax dollars have not been used in the past to do roads. The state money they give us from the gas tax only pays about 3 to 5, miles of roads out of 1,200 per year. We put the other end through the SPLOST, which they only allocated about $700,000. That's not enough money to make a dent in this. other priorities by previous administrations are their priorities, but I've heard from the people, that's why we've been focused on these roads, and that's why people are going to start seeing roads paved.
And we've talked about the local maintenance and improvement grant. Is that what's coming from the gas tax you're talking about?
Right.
So how does that work? So it's called an LMIG for most times. People use the little acronym. So how does that process work?
So that process works by everyone paying their fair share when they go to get gas, get fuel, gasoline. It goes to the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia decides based on their formulas how each municipality gets the money. So it's given to us in a certain period. It also requires a match also. So the local government has to match that by a certain percentage. And then those roads have to go through the process of getting approved by GDOT to make sure you can approve and pave those roads with that money. But it's really been a great thing for get the state money, but it's really a nominal amount when you talk about the number of roads. I've said we're going to try to pave 25 years of roads in four years. I think we can do it. I know we can do it with the money if we have the workforce there to do it, and I think there's plenty of roads that could use paving.
Just recently, Bibb County, though, took the next step and hired the contractor, made the move for roads that were on the 2023 list. So it is a process, and we see that with GDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. Just because you say you're going to do it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Can you explain how that, delay seems to happen? I've been talking about some roundabouts on Mercer University Drive for 5 years now.
Yeah, we don't control all those. There's 3 roundabouts coming on Bass Road. There's a couple more coming on Mercer University and Eisenhower Parkway. We don't determine the time, place, and manner of those things, so it's really difficult for us. But our LMIG funds come in. You can think about you're about a year or so behind each time, but you got something in the well every year. It's just a process. By the time you get the money, you choose the roads, you get permitted, it goes to the state, and by the time you get a company to do it, it does take a while. But right now we're going to have plenty in the well to get paved, so people are going to need to watch out for those asphalt trucks.
And I know you have other SPLOST projects on the horizon. Anything that you can talk about right now?
Well, we listed those buckets that we put on the SPLOST. The ballot language, I know, had many things on there. We're going to be listening to the folks in our community, and of course the commissioner is going to play a vital role in that. We're going to do something probably to address parts of the jail, of course, whether that means breaking ground on a new one to start in the future, phased-in approach. We certainly been hearing some things. I'm not sure if you saw the AJC article where there's a potential push to move all the GHSA sports to Atlanta. That would be very, very, very detrimental to Macon. Hotel motel tax, our taxes here, since we have some on the SPLOST and the LOST, we have to keep those things in Macon. One way we have to do that is to improve our facilities. Athens has new facilities, Augusta has new facilities. I went to the Inmark Arena in Savannah the other night for a concert. They have a new facility. I took a tour of that place there. We're going to have to upgrade our facilities on conventions and on that to get things done. And of course, we have a lot of fire stations. We need deputy cars. Many public safety has to be done as well.
Well, you brought up GHSA, and I know during the Georgia Public Broadcasting broadcast, they were talking about, oh, this is our last time in Macon. They said, oh, hold off. They're going to build a new arena. So that might have been news to some folks. But one last question on that. I know SPLOST projects, the money, like you said, you're not even going to get any until October, and then it takes 10 years to get the $450 million. So will you be borrowing money against the expected return to start these projects sooner, and how does that work?
Of course we will. We put in the SPLOST that allows the capability of borrowing up to $100 million of the bond that we pay back out of the SPLOST. So we don't want to do that until we have projects ready to go because you don't want to have to start paying interest any earlier than you want to. So I expect we'll be borrowing some money on that, and we'll probably be doing a resolution in the next 30 to 60 days.
Well, stay with us. We'll be back talking about more happenings in Macon-Bibb County. Don't go away. Thank you for sticking with us for Ask Mayor Miller. You mentioned visiting Savannah's facility. What can you tell us about what you saw at their arena?
Well, it's in a lot better shape than our Coliseum is. What I saw is people enjoying a great time, easy ingress and egress, a parking deck attached to the arena. It's really nice. They can book some good events there, can host some good sporting events there, and certainly they were able to fill the place up with a concert there. It would complement the things we have going on at the auditorium. It would complement the things we have going on at the amphitheater. But more importantly, it would keep us in the mix for all these conventions that we have, even though we're looking at a convention center and all the sporting events that we need to keep, because that's really our bread and butter here in Macon.
And the amphitheater season's kicking off. We got that big Guinness Book of World Records attempt for the kazoo ensemble. How do you feel about that? Do you think we're going to break that record? And what do you see on the horizon for this season at the amphitheater?
Well, I hope we break the record. We need to get people out to do that. I know the other day at the Coliseum, they had packed kids there for a hockey game. We bring that same crowd, we're going to get the record. But you know, it's going to be a fun event. I think we got comedians, some music coming there as well. And because of Guinness Book, reasons, we have to document everybody that comes there. That's why there's a $5 ticket charge there. So I think we can break the record. This upcoming season looks to be a good one. We haven't announced all the acts yet, so there's still some more out there. But so far, the ones we have announced are selling tickets really, really well. So I think we're going to exceed the first year, and we're continuing to build on each year after year.
Of course, the mall, any new tenants on the horizon?
Certainly, we have some new tenants that we are negotiating with for some of the space there. Lots of interest on a couple of the big boxes, which is very unique. The Pennies and the Macy's, there's been some good inquiries there for some retail, at least one of the floors in each one of those. And we're going to start a program there to get some more restaurants inside there, and we're still looking at doing an RFP perhaps for a hotel on site. So lots to come in 2025 and certainly 2026 at the mall.
I noticed with Planning and Zoning's budget, they had to add about $80,000 more for rent now at the mall. Is that a similar increase for the other county entities that are out there, and are you adding to their budget to make up for the difference in their rent?
Well, it's not just the rent going up, it's just that they moved from different locations and they had new amenities, they want to have the good Wi-Fi and all the other things there. So it's an upgrade. They also had an acceleration in their previous rent at the other place that would increase at the period of time. So it's really just keeping up with that and making sure that we get fair market value for those spaces. So it's just normal. We pay it all the time. It goes up on us as well.
We're both in pink because we're in the middle of the Cherry Blossom Festival. What is your favorite event?
Well, I usually like going over and seeing the bed race, the wiener race, and the splash. It's all good to me, and I think that going out there last Saturday morning and seeing the crowds. I mean, we had over 100-something cars there. Some of those I'd love to have.
Oh, right.
And the people enjoying having a great time, some good food. And of course, I've been down to the park itself at Carolyn Creighton Park on a couple of occasions already. It's been packed. People are enjoying the good time there. So I think there's still more to come, and I'm excited about the next week.
I noticed the courthouse is lit up in pink. Do you know who was responsible for doing that? And will City Hall follow suit?
Well, we looked at City Hall. It's just changing the lights and things of that nature, and we thought that would be a centerpiece. That's a lot of what we do is in that area there. But everybody working together between the Visit Macon and between our local offices there and Stacy Moore at the Cherry Blossom, we decided to make that a centerpiece there, and I like the way it looks as well, so I posted it on my page.
I think it looks great. I mean, I think a lot of buildings should be lit up in pink, and I think other folks want it lit up for other things. The White House does it, the Empire State Building does it, so.
Yeah. I think as long as you keep politics out of it, it's a good thing to have, and I'm certainly always willing to celebrate the pinkest party on earth.
So they have special lighting now at the courthouse and can change different colors like they do the Mercer Bridge?
Yeah, pretty much, and we've done it the same thing during the holiday season at City Hall. We put the red ones in there. I think we may have done some purple outside sometimes when there was domestic violence, so I think those things are kind of unique.
Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I'm just ready to have a great time at Cherry Blossom. Looking forward to the upcoming season at the amphitheater and getting some raised pay, so we're paving the way in Macon-Bibb County.
Any chance we could see you in the musical chairs event next year?
I'm very competitive, and it's probably not a good thing for me in there bumping everybody out of the way to try to win that thing.
Yeah, that probably would not be a good look for an elected official, and Chris Floor had a time too. Well, thank you for joining us. Remember, send your questions to mercerccj@gmail.com. See you next time.